I am New York.
Yes, I'm New York.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
We are New York.
Welcome to DiverseCITY, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Zyphus Lebrun. This month, we're coming to you from Snug Harbor Cultural Center in Randall Manor on Staten Island's North Shore. We'll be exploring adjoining areas, one of them being New Brighton. The other is its nearby neighbor to the southwest, West Brighton. West Brighton has a long industrial history. The community was the home of the island's largest industrial plant, C.W. Hunt Company, by the end of the 19th century. The business manufactured everything from steam shovels to locomotives. Now, the area is a haven for many family-owned businesses that have been around for generations. New Brighton, on the other hand, has always been a mix of waterfront commerce and houses on the hills. Buildings range from grand Victorian homes to high-rise apartment complexes. The neighborhoods both border the island's maritime corridor on the North Shore. That area is on the cusp of some major changes. On this episode, what's the plan? Competing visions on how best to restart the area's stalling economy after a few failed projects. A lovely day for cricket, celebrating a sports venue that's been around since before the invention of the airplane. And more than meets the eye, a metal maven and his magnificent creations. Those stories and more coming up on this episode of DiverseCITY. Gritty, dark, desolate. Those are some of the words used to describe the New Brighton waterfront. But community activists and the new city council member, Camilla Hanks, are trying to change that. They have broad visions on how to make up for development projects that went south along the North Shore. Shannon Ayala has the details.
So this area right here, Bank Street, could be the paradise for Staten Island's North Shore waterfront. It could be the place where there's park benches, where there's a bike path, where there's a greenway, where you have the best darn view of the Manhattan skyline. But unfortunately, what's happened is we've had a series of failed capital projects.
One of these projects was the New York Wheel, a giant billion-dollar Ferris wheel that was supposed to be akin to the London Eye. However, in 2018, the company behind the wheel went bankrupt, leaving behind a cement carcass as a souvenir.
And we have a beautiful $250 million parking lot that's empty every single day.
Kelly Villar's grassroots group, Staten Island Urban Center, is part of a larger effort to revitalize the borough's North Shore waterfront. She disagrees with the city's strategy for transforming the North Shore's landscape. Rather than failed Ferris wheels in outlet malls, her group has an alternative vision called a MERC, or Maritime Education and Recreation Corridor.
We can create a whole shoreline filled with maritime education opportunities, not just teaching people about being on the waterfront, but even recreational maritime opportunities, from kayaking to fishing to teaching people about boat building and all sorts of, things like that.
The MERC emerged as a grassroots response to a city-led plan. In 2019, the City Council approved the Bay Street rezoning. That plan was aimed at bringing affordable housing, retail, recreation space, and a waterfront esplanade to a 14-block corridor through Tompkinsville and Stapleton. Then, in 2021, Camilla Hanks won a North Shore City Council district. She's planning her own master plan for the area.
Post-COVID, we kind of have to look at things with a fresh eye. We have to look at retail and commercial space differently. We have to look at our open spaces because we know that after COVID, how important open spaces are. We have to look at housing differently.
Hanks says she wants to move quickly to implement her strategy. In her view, the North Shore is a small town downtown waiting to happen.
We can't look at it as we're Manhattan or Brooklyn. We have to look at it as we're Staten Island. So you have to think of like New Hope, Pennsylvania, Saratoga, Cape May, all of these smaller urban, suburban communities and look at how they are addressing their issues. I mean, there's no reason why we can't be Hoboken, why we can't have a vibrant waterfront, why we can't have restaurants, housing, water taxis.
Though the details are different, Councilmember Hanks and Villar's vision intersect when it comes to seeing the island's waterfront as an underused community asset.
New York City is a waterfront city, but we don't act like it. And we need to act like it. And Staten Island, out of all the boroughs, is a waterfront town. And we need to begin to act like it.
We are on an island and we should act like it. We're looking at, maritime education. We're looking at how we're better utilizing our open green spaces.
Hanks acknowledges that a master plan is a daunting task during her limited 2-year term. However, she told us last summer that she met with the mayor about it and was working to get funding.
The community wants to preserve its historic, rich history. The community wants affordable housing. The community wants our open, they want to open the waterfront. It's not rocket science. It's already been spoken about, and I think that the community now is ready for action. And I ran on it, and my intention with having the mayor out here and having these multiple conversations is to start that process.
Shannon Ayala for DiverseCITY.
A community center at the heart of New Brighton for over 100 years is undergoing some major changes. Vanessa Monet tells us what the future holds for this neighborhood fixture.
This sprawling campus is home to the Goodhue Community Center. The organization is part of the nonprofit Children's Aid Society. Goodhue has been helping children and families in New Brighton and beyond for more than 100 years. Now, a plan is in motion to bring in some needed resources to continue bolstering the organization.
Children's Aid started to negotiate with the city to sell the property to the Parks Department. We wanted to build a new center. As lovely as our center is, we need a modern center. And we wanted to build that adjacent to the pool, which is on the other part of the property.
Eileen Pappert has been with the Goodhue Community Center for 46 years. She advanced to the role of center director in 1989. She says that the last 2 years emphasized why it's important to improve the facilities to ensure that Goodhue can continue to service the community effectively.
During the pandemic, we opened up our doors August 2020, and we're here full-time providing 8 to 6 services to children. And I know how impactful that was on families. Parents would say, "You saved my kids a year. You made them safe. You made them be able to learn. They were able to be social. They were able to be with their friends, have fun, feel like a child."
The center's campus encompasses over 40 acres of land, including woodlands with a pond, sports fields, an outdoor pool, a gymnasium, and other recreational facilities. All this allows them the ability to provide a number of services for the community.
We have a wonderful summer camp and an after-school program. We have preventive services here. It's a program that deals with families and children that are at risk of being possibly in the foster care system or are just having difficulties, and therapists work with, and social workers work with the families.
The Children's Aid Society considered selling off much of the acreage in the early 2000s because they needed money to continue funding Goodhue. Community members rallied to preserve the natural landscape, pushing to keep it from the hands of developers. In 2011, local officials were able to secure $7.5 million in funding for the City Parks Department to purchase the first 15 acres of an eventual 37-acre sale. This allowed Goodhue to continue using the property. In June 2021, it was announced that the third and final leg of the decade-long sale would transfer the last 11 acres of the land to the city. This final phase will leave Children's Aid Society ownership of roughly 4 to 5 acres near the pool facility, which will be enclosed for year-round use, along with the construction of a new rec center. With this shift on the horizon, Pappert says she is more than prepared for a changing landscape.
When I first started, the gym wasn't here, but that was built. That changed a lot also. Being able to have a large gym, we were able to do many more programs, really, especially with teenagers. We opened up the learning lab. We turned one of our cabins into a learning lab when computers first became important for children. We even had a radio station in it.
After nearly half a century of service, Pappert sees herself as somewhat of a steward for the center and hopes to stay on to see the project through before passing the torch. For DiverseCITY, I'm Vanessa Monet.
Staten Island is home to the oldest continually operating cricket venue in the United States. The sport, though not as popular here in the U.S., has some deep roots in the neighborhood. I found out more about the Staten Island Cricket Club's history and how they intend to play ball for another 150 years. That crack of the cricket bat against the ball is a familiar sound at Walker Park. The Staten Island Cricket Club has played in these parts since before Major League Baseball was formed in this country. Back then, the club was called the Staten Island Cricket and Baseball Club. Cricket's closest cousin is baseball, but instead of a pitcher, batter, and catcher, you have a bowler, batsman, and a wicketkeeper. Runs are scored in a similar way, but with cricket, you basically only get one strike. These days, working-class South Asians and West Indians make up the majority of the club's players, a world away from those who founded it.
The Staten Island Cricket Club was founded in 1872 by a group of British men who were traders on Wall Street.
Clarence Modeste has been a club member since 1961. The 92-year-old became club president more than 30 years ago. He says that the team was first located in an area near the Staten Island ferry docks called St. George, then moved to Walker Park in 1885.
The club wanted to buy and have their permanent home. They wanted a piece of land to build their cricket ground, and they didn't want to do that on leased property.
Eventually, the club bought the property where the park currently stands. Land ownership changed hands over the years, but the team has played on, even during World Wars.
The president of the club in 1961, when I joined, a Scotsman, told me what happened in World War II. He himself went down to the docks when the ships, when the British warships would come in to be refitted and the fighters on board given a break, so to speak, and they would organize cricket matches. And so it was far from being a season of cricket, so to speak, but if they played 2 or 3 or 4 games, then they can make the claim that they played every year.
The City Parks Department now owns the land. Modeste says he's pleased with the relationship overall, but it has its ups and downs.
Depending on who the Parks Department personnel are, who the commissioner is, and what sort of messages perhaps come down from the top, it's been a little bit not exactly rowdy, but not the friendliest among some of the staff.
In spite of that, the club has garnered international recognition for being the longest continuously operating cricket club in the country, and as a premier cricket destination in the United States. Earlier this year, some current players and a fast bowling legend from the past honored the club with video tributes.
Just want to wish the Staten Island Cricket Club a 150-year anniversary and content.
The club hopes to leverage this notoriety to its advantage.
We are approaching the mayor and asking for a special funding for this project, which would involve restoring the ground, which is falling into disrepair as a cricket venue, and also building a small pavilion exclusively for the use of cricket players. And that would be, I think, a very welcome symbol of the sport's presence in New York.
Joseph O'Neill is a club member and the author of the novel Netherland. The work of fiction is an examination of cricket's cultural impact in New York City. He says that it's high time for the club and the sport to get their due in the city.
Staten Island Cricket Club is this cultural treasure for New York, and I think it should be recognized as such, not just because of the club and its members, but because the club is an emblem for the hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers who love the game and who are slightly invisible in the city. So if you make Walker Park, as we want it to be, a kind of destination of cricket, then that will serve to kind of bring to the surface and to recognize, people whose cultures are currently very much at the margins of the city and are very much kind of pushed to the sides and rendered invisible.
The Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanic Garden, where I'm currently standing, sits along Richmond Terrace, an industrial stretch of road on the North Shore. Craig Thompson visited this unique oasis, whose location belies its beauty.
It's amazing, whether it be a 5-year-old coming to us into this garden space or a 95-year-old patron coming to us in the garden space. The moment they step into the garden, almost always you get this look on their face because you instantly left New York City.
Puyen Taglianetti is the education manager at Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanic Garden. The Chinese Scholars Garden is a small sanctuary in the 83-acre wetland and green oasis. It's based on structures that were built during China's Ming Dynasty that lasted from 1368 to 1644 AD.
Our then CEO at the time, Frances Huber, had wanted to put something unique and special here at Snug Harbor because we're a multi-use cultural venue. And so she had been fascinated with the Chinese Scholars Gardens, had gone to China a number of times to research, to look into how we can bring one here.
This garden was built in the 1990s with material mostly imported from China. Artisans assembled everything, including the iconic gongshi, a rock that was pulled from a lake in China and sent to Staten Island in pieces. The gongshi acts as a centerpiece of the sculpture garden.
It comes from Lake Tai. It's not meant to be anything specific. So it's a meditation point or a conversation piece, depending on the angle that you're looking at it, or depending on your own mood, or the way that the sun is hitting on it and the shadow is playing. You see different things. So we had students who tell us it looks like a lion roaring. One student told us it looked like a water pitcher. You can have a handle on one side and you can see the water pouring out.
The gongshi, or Scholar's Rock, is one example of the extraordinary attention to detail here in the Staten Island oasis. Close to 20,000 people pass through the garden each year.
Each of these pavilions are made to seem as if you're floating over the nature that's around you. Each and every one of these windows are framed in a different design. No two are the same. You're meant to be able to feel the air or the rain that's coming through them to connect you to the nature that's in this space.
The design is even intended to corral good fortune.
You'll also notice that you have to go left and right and up and down, and then the elevation and or the direction changes. From a folklore standpoint, it is said that evil spirits or bad luck can only go on a flat, straight plane. So by being able to turn left and right, go up and down, you're keeping all that good fortune with you. But then from a design standpoint, we're really building in mindfulness here. And so even from the Ming Dynasty, if you think about that hundreds of years ago, they're forcing you to slow down, forcing you to take in the nature that's around you, to then have more appreciation for your role within the larger scheme of nature around you.
Although the space is inspired by Chinese gardens of the 15th century, the Chinese Scholars Garden at Snug Harbor has a very contemporary relevance.
Through the pandemic, we have learned just how important it is for people to have a place to escape their daily stress, which is what the gardens were originally intended for the scholars. And so nowadays, everyday people can have access to the Scholars Garden to escape those stress, to be here, sit in a quiet moment, enjoy the sounds, the nature that's around them, and for just that brief time, not to, have to take on all the burdens that they may be encountering.
Snug Harbor is open 7 days a week, and the Chinese Scholars Garden is open Wednesdays through Sundays. For DiverseCITY, I'm Craig Thompson.
Finally, a muffler shop in their neighborhood that's more than meets the eye.
I moved to Staten Island 35 years ago. I'm originally from Guyana, South America. It was freezing cold, so I wanted to go back right away. I had no choice. There was no work back home, so I had to stay. I saw the ad in the newspaper. One guy was looking for a mechanic, a muffler installer, and then I showed up and he gave me the job. Coming from hardship, I had to do better coming to a different country. And that's what gave me the drive to go forward and just, keep going.
Conveniently located in the Port Richmond section of Staten Island, Lenny Prince's Muffler Repair Shop has been a go-to spot for many West Brighton residents since its founding in 1996. From the outside, this family-owned business may look like any other auto body shop, but if you're detail-oriented, you may start noticing some curious creations.
Come on, let me give you a tour. Okay, now, this is Optimus Prime. This is one of my first pieces. And then we have Bumblebee. See the Twin Towers. Apache helicopter. And then over here we have Iron Man, Staten Island Ferry, and then the space shuttle. This is one of the biggest pieces, took about 6 months. And then we have other guys, we have NYPD, the FDNY, and other pieces.
Some 10 years ago, Lenny Prince started creating massive sculptures out of old car parts. The word got out about Lenny's Creations, an art gallery hidden inside a muffler shop. Eventually, Prince appeared in the New York Times as the Matisse of mufflers. Despite this recognition, he remains modest and claims that his body of work came from everyday struggle.
There was a period in business where business was kind of slow, and there was a lot of stress. So at the time I needed something to release my stress in the business. So I decided to take the scraps and weld together and just start creating pieces. I didn't expect all of this, the volume and size and scale. I never knew that I had this kind of stuff inside of me. People start commenting in the newspaper. That's not why I did it. I didn't do it for publicity. I just did it for me. Trying to acquire the specific piece that you need for the work, that's the difficult part. You can mold and bend and twist to your liking, or you can find pieces that actually fit whatever you're looking for. You have to locate the pieces. So that's a process in itself.
Luckily, locating these pieces on the north shore of Staten Island proved to be easier than expected.
This area is the industrial area. There's a lot of repair shops and stuff like that. So I figured being in this area right here, I had the opportunity to acquire the spare parts to create art.
In 2011, Prince created and donated a brand new statue of the iconic Francis the Praying Mantis to the Staten Island Children's Museum. This was after the original wooden statue, that had been around since the 90s, rotted out due to, ironically enough, insect infestation.
I feel me doing that piece is a good way to give back to Staten Island. It was important to me. When every piece is completed, I feel like, I feel great. Then I move on to the next piece and repeat the cycle. To walk in this space and to just see my work, it kind of uplifts me every day and it calms the spirit just to see all my different pieces.
That's our look at New Brighton and West Brighton on Staten Island's North Shore. Come with us next time when we'll head over to East New York in Brooklyn. Till then, thanks for joining us as we explore our diverse city.